to address the initial conflict with the guild, ensured consistent use of Madam V per the guidelines, and corrected the punctuation at the end. Part 1. Adapted novel content. Inside the opulent, velvet-draped headquarters of the Guild of Enthrallment, the seductive Grand Mistress, Madam V, gave me her final ultimatum. 3 months. If you don't secure the heart of that Ice Queen from the Order of the Blade, prepare to become the 18th battery from my alchemy furnace. I, Julian Rivers, the Guild's once-in-a-century heartthrob, only wanted to run for the hills. But with no other choice, I had to bite the bullet. Under the watchful eyes of hundreds, I stepped into the path of the magical community's most unattainable woman. "Excuse me, Seraphina." I forced out what I hoped was my most dazzling smile. "Would you consider becoming my bondmate?" The silence was deafening. The surrounding disciples looked at me like I was mentally unstable. Seraphina, Frost, finally shifted her cold gaze from her blade to my face. She scanned me once, her thin lips parting slightly. "Male? Accepted." Accepted? What does that mean? That wasn't in the script. My brain short-circuited. The air around us seemed to freeze for 3 seconds before exploding into chaos. Did I hear that right? Seraphina said yes. Isn't that guy from the Enthrallment Guild? A literal seducer. Has Seraphina lost her mind? It's over, it's over. My goddess. She actually doesn't care about standards, as long as it's a man. Sounds of shock, disbelief, and heartbreak washed over me like a tidal wave. I stood frozen in the eye of the storm, maintaining a smile that probably looked more like a grimace. Seraphina Frost, the grand disciple of the Order of the Blade. Legend says her strike can sever mountains, and her gaze can freeze oceans. Simply cast a faint glance at the losing crowd. That single look, devoid of any magical flair, instantly silenced the noise. The world went quiet. She looked at me again, her voice devoid of emotion. "Follow me." She turned and walked away, her white coat pristine as snow, her figure radiating isolation and coldness, as if that shocking accepted hadn't just come from her mouth. "Follow? Where? Your place or mine?" "Wait, isn't this moving too fast? We haven't even held hands." My scalp tingled with anxiety, but the memory of Madame V's terrifying face and the green fire of the furnace made my legs develop a mind of their own. I shakily followed her. I could feel countless glares stabbing my back, jealousy, contempt, anger, and thick disbelief. I, Julian Rivers, a guy who coasted on his looks, had just walked away with the #1 beauty of the magical world. If I told anyone this story, even a dog wouldn't believe it. I trailed Seraphina through the Order's training grounds, past rows of solemn Gothic halls, until we reached a solitary peak suspended above a sea of clouds. The summit held only a simple bamboo cabin, surrounded by nothing but the sound of wind and the humming of swords. "This is Frost's sanctum. From now on, you live here." Seraphina stopped and pointed at the cabin. I looked at the pitifully small structure, then at her. "Live here? 2 people? 1 room?" My heart rate began to spike uncontrollably. Did she actually fall for my face? I transmigrated into this world, inheriting this body's god-tier looks. Is this my superpower? Just as my imagination ran wild, a voice filled with rage thundered from below. "Seraphina, how could you bring such a degenerate to your sacred grounds?" A flash of sword light cut the air, and a young man in expensive designer tactical gear, handsome but currently twisted with rage, landed in front of us. Victor Sterling, the top male disciple of the Order and Seraphina's most fanatical suitor. Oh great, the standard antagonizing rival has arrived. Victor looked at me like he wanted to flame me alive. "Julian Rivers, right? Trash from the Enthrallment Guild. Get off Frost's sanctum immediately, or my blade won't be merciful." The long sword in his hand buzzed, sharp energy pointing straight between my eyes. I felt my breath hitch. The killing intent nearly froze my blood. Just as I thought I was going to bleed out right there, Seraphina moved. She simply took 1 step forward, shielding me. The crushing pressure vanished instantly. "Victor," her voice remained icy. "He is my person now." "What?" Victor's eyes went red. He stared at Seraphina, protecting me like an enraged lion. "You're making a mistake. Do you know what kind of trash he is? People from the Enthrallment Guild practice dirty, parasitic arts. Keeping him around will only stain your sword heart." Hey, personal attacks much? We have legitimate dual cultivation techniques too." I screamed internally, but didn't dare utter a word. Seraphina's expression didn't shift. "My affairs are not for you to judge." Her words were sharper than a blade, piercing Victor's ego. Furthermore, she turned her head, her cold gaze sweeping over my face. Starting today, he is my bondmate. Remember your place. She ignored the furious Victor, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me into the cabin. Bang! The door slammed shut, cutting off the murderous glare from outside. Her fingertips left a lingering cold sensation on my wrist. The interior was minimalist to the extreme. One bed, one table, a few chairs. Nothing else. The air smelled faintly of cold pine after snowfall, her scent. I stood in the middle of the room, not knowing what to do with my limbs. A single man and woman, one room. Is this cohabitation? Madam V, did you lower the difficulty setting on this mission? Seraphina walked to the table, poured herself tea, and completely ignored me. She took a sip, then looked up. Speak. What is your actual purpose for coming to the order? Here it comes. I knew it wouldn't be that easy. My heart skipped a beat, but I quickly plastered on an innocent, affectionate expression. Seraphina, I made my intentions clear. I admire you. I want to be your bondmate and pursue the path of magic together. I had practiced this line in the mirror 800 times back at the guild. I was confident I could fool 99% of women. However, Seraphina just stared at me, her eyes seemingly piercing my soul. Madam V gave you 3 months? Boom! My mind went blank, my expression freezing. How does she know? Did the order plant a mole? Or is she wiretapping me? Seeing my terrified expression, the corner of Seraphina's mouth seemed to twitch upward, so fast I thought I imagined it. Looks like I guessed right. She put down the teacup, her voice tinged with amusement. Your Grand Mistress wants the order's scripture of absolute detachment, correct? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Bullseye. She knew everything. Is this woman a psychic? So, you agreed to date me just to... I struggled to speak, trying to understand her logic. Play along, she said concisely. You stay at Frost's sanctum as my bondmate. I will let your Grand Mistress believe you are making progress. As for what she wants, I will accidentally let you see it. I was thoroughly confused. What kind of 4D chess is this? She wants to help me scam my boss? Why? As if reading my confusion, she said flatly. I have my own objectives. You just need to play your role. Don't break character. What role? A fool who is deeply in love with me, obedient to my every word, and willing to betray his guild for me. She said the word fool with zero emotion. Me? Although I was insulted, why did I feel? This mission just got way easier? I just had to be a trophy, husband, and act a bit. This was a steal. No problem. I immediately thumped my chest. Rest assured, Seraphina, acting is my profession. I guarantee I'll make Victor so jealous he smokes from the ears, and make the whole magical world believe our love is unbreakable. Seraphina seemed satisfied with my sycophantic attitude and nodded. Good. Then, as my bondmate, your first task. She paused, pointing to a water barrel in the corner. Go fill the cistern. Me, huh? Wait, what about the romance? Shouldn't bondmates be whispering sweet nothings? Why am I doing manual labor? I looked at the cistern, which was taller than me, then at my pampered body, and felt the darkness closing in. I, the heartthrob of the Enthrallment Guild, reduced to a water boy for an ice queen? If this got out, my street cred would be 0. But survival first. I sucked it up. I huffed and puffed, hauling water between the mountain spring and the cabin. Frost Sanctum was high up, the path steep. In no time, I was panting like a dog. Seraphina sat on the stone bench outside, polishing her spiritual sword Frostbite, watching me coldly. Victor Sterling didn't give up. He came to visit almost every day, claiming he wanted to spar, but really just to harass me. Julian, you waste a space. Apart from that face, you're useless. Why do you have to be by her side? He kicked over the bucket I had just filled, splashing water all over me. I was soaked and looked pathetic. Damn it, don't think I can't take you. If I weren't acting, my guild's secret arts would have you crying for your mommy in seconds. I raged internally, but kept a look of aggrieved submission on my face. Victor, shut up. You have no right to speak my name. Victor looked disgusted. Seraphina is just deceived by your pretty face. Today I'll reveal your true colors. He formed a hand seal, and a sharp blade of energy shot toward my face. It was fast and vicious, aimed to disfigure me. I felt my pupils contract. I instinctively wanted to trigger my charm magic to dodge. But then, a white flash faster than him appeared. Clang, a crisp sound echoed. Seraphina stood before me, deflecting Victor's attack with her scabbard. Victor, do you think my word is just wind? For the first time, her voice carried a bone-chilling coldness. Victor, shaken by her aura, stumbled back, his face flashing between pale and red. Seraphina, I'm helping you. You can't be blinded by this demon. He is the bondmate I chose. She articulated every syllable. Touching him is touching me. Wow. I hid behind Seraphina, looking at her slender but incredibly reliable back, feeling strangely moved. Even if it's an act, that line was boss level. Love it. Victor trembled with rage, pointing at me, then her, unable to speak. Fine, Fine, Fine. Seraphina, you will regret this. He threw down a final threat and flew off on his sword of rage. Silence returned. Seraphina turned, looking at my bedraggled state, frowning slightly. You just let him bully you? I pointed at myself, pitifully. What else? I'm a weak, defenseless man. How can I fight the Order's top disciple? Said Vikman. Seraphina went silent. She stared at me for a long time, then suddenly reached out and plucked a leaf from my hair. Her fingertips were cold, brushing against my ear, sending a subtle shiver through me. I stiffened. Thrilling. Too thrilling. Was that intimate contact? Starting tomorrow, you train with me. She withdrew her hand and spoke flatly. I was dumbfounded again. Me? Train with a sword? I pointed at myself. I don't even have a mana core. It was true. This body was a cultivation dud. No core, then practice basics. Seraphina brukte no argument. My person cannot be a useless victim. She turned back to the cabin, leaving me standing in the wind. Wait, lady, do you actually want to teach me, or just find a reason to torture me? Turns out, she was serious. Before dawn the next day, she dragged me out of bed. The morning air at Frost's sanctum was biting. I wore thin clothes, holding a heavy wooden sword, feeling like I'd turn into an ice sculpture. Squats. 2 hours. She barked the order and began her own routine. Her swordplay was beautiful, like a dance. Every strike carried biting frost, whipping up fallen leaves into white tornadoes. Meanwhile, I was suffering in a horse stance, legs shaking like jelly. 2 hours? That's gonna kill me. Just as I thought I would collapse, Victor arrived again. This time with minions, obviously to watch the show. Oh, isn't this Julian the lover boy? Not serving the mistress in bed. Out here, playing swordsman. Haha, look at his legs shaking. He calls that training. A demon from the Enthrallment Guild touching a sword? What an insult to the blade. Mockery rained down. I gritted my teeth, enduring it. The act must go on. A fool in love should show stubbornness to be worthy of her. Seraphina stopped, eyeing them coldly. My bondmate trains. What business is it of yours? Victor froze, then sneered. I just pity you. Why waste time on this trash? He's mud that can't be molded. Whether he's mud is for me to decide. Seraphina walked to me, supporting my swaying body. Her palm pressed against my lower back. A cool, stabilizing energy flowing in, miraculously steadying my trembling legs. Watch closely, she whispered in my ear, her breath warm, tickling me. Then, she gripped my hand holding the sword. Her hand was small, but powerful. She guided my hand, swinging the wooden sword. A simple thrust. No flash, just unstoppable momentum. Hum! The air in front of the wooden sword popped. The sneers on Victor's face froze. Sword chi. A minion screamed. Impossible. He's a coreless mortal. Victor looked like he'd swallowed a fly. I stared at the sword, dumbfounded. I made sword chi. You kidding? I didn't feel anything. All I felt was her hand on mine and that reassuring, cold scent. Seraphina released me, stepping back, eyeing Victor with a hint of provocation. Now, do you still think he's trash? Victor's face turned purple. He stared holes into me, unable to accept that the waste had beaten him in his own expertise, even with help. Let's go. Victor stormed off. I watched them retreat, feeling a dark satisfaction. Nice. That felt better than slapping at myself. I turned to thank Seraphina, but she looked at me with a complex expression. You. She hesitated, then stopped. Finally, she just said, keep squatting. Me. Happiness is always short-lived. Days passed in grueling training and Victor's relentless harassment. A month later, I was still coreless but physically tougher. The rumor of us being a godly couple spread through the magical world, thanks to Victor's loud complaining. Even the gossip tabloids ran specials. Headlines like shocking, Ice Queen melts for love, teaches enthraller's swordplay, or Victor sterling in tears. Am I too late, or is the bad boy too hot? I laughed reading them. Seraphina ignored it all. Then came the grand tournament. As the lead disciple, Seraphina was the star. As her bondmate, I sat in the VIP box next to her, soaking in the envy. Seraphina, you'll win for sure. Victor buzzed around like a fly, ignoring me. Seraphina didn't look up, just said to me, thirsty. I immediately peeled a grape and held it to her lips. Committing to the bit. She naturally opened her mouth and ate it. This scene stabbed Victor right in the eyes. The crowd gasped. Oh my God, she let him feed her. My heart is broken. Too sweet. No, too painful. I smirked internally while playing the doting husband. Victor's knuckles cracked. The match began. Seraphina faced an artificer who controlled 18 floating weapons. A storm of steel flew at her. The crowd screamed. Victor stood up yelling, "Look out!" Only I sat there, steady as a rock, calmly peeling another grape. I knew she would win. A month together gave me blind faith in her. Sure enough, facing the storm of steel, Seraphina slowly drew frostbite. One swing. No thunderous noise, just a pure, liquid white light like moonlight. With a light passed, the weapons froze in midair. Crack! All 18 weapons snapped in half, falling as scrap metal. Dead silence. The artificer collapsed, weeping over his broken gear. Seraphina sheathed her sword, walked down, and extended her hand to me in front of everyone. Handkerchief. I paused, then handed her a clean one. She wiped the sweat from her palm, then did something that blew everyone's mind. She handed the sweaty handkerchief back to me. Keep it safe. Me. Lady, you're trying to get me killed. Now the whole world thinks I'm your obsessive keepsake holder. I mechanically took it, feeling her lingering warmth. Opposite us, Victor was practically foaming at the mouth. The finals were inevitable. Seraphina versus Victor. The internal showdown everyone waited for. On stage, the tension was palpable. Draw your sword. Today I'll show you who truly belongs by your side. Victor burned with jealousy. Seraphina remained calm. As you wish. The fight erupted. Victor's style was aggressive and thunderous. Seraphina was ethereal, dodging at impossible angles. Watching from below, I frowned. What does it feel like? She's holding back. She wasn't fighting with the dominance she showed earlier. She was feeding him moves? Was the rumor true? Did she actually care about her martial brother? I felt inexplicably annoyed. Suddenly, the tide turned. Victor caught a small opening and unleashed his ultimate family technique, celestial flying immortal. A blinding beam of light, like a falling meteor, aimed straight for her chest. It was too fast. Seraphina. The crowd screamed. My heart hit my throat. She couldn't dodge that. I instinctively stood up, my charm magic flaring. Move. Dodge it. In that split second, she moved. But not away. She stepped into the light. She twisted her body slightly. Slash. The blade grazed her shoulder, spraying blood and tearing her white coat to reveal pale skin. She was hit. Victor froze, clearly shocked he had actually landed a blow. In that 1 second hesitation, Seraphina's fingers tapped his chest. Bang! Victor flew backward, crashing off the stage, unconscious. Silence, then a roar of applause. She won. Incredible. Taking a hit to secure the win. But I couldn't smile. I stared at the blood on her shoulder. The referee declared her winner. She walked down, pale, and stopped in front of me. I spoke first, my voice raspy with anger. You did that on purpose. Not question. You could have died. She chose the most painful way to win. Why? To save Victor's dignity? Seraphina's eyelashes trembled. She didn't answer, just whispered. I'm hurt. Help me back. Her voice held a frailty I'd never heard. My heart instantly softened. I silently supported her, walking back to Frost's sanctum under 1,000 gazes. Inside the cabin, I cleaned her wound. It was deep. My hand shook. Crazy woman. Hiss. The alcohol stung, and she shivered. It was the first time I saw her in pain. Bear with it. My voice softened. The atmosphere grew heavy. The scent of her cold perfume mixed with blood and medicine created a strange intimacy. Why? I finally asked. Seraphina leaned back, pale. Victor's technique is his father's legacy. If I dodged effortlessly or crushed him, it would destroy his confidence as a swordsman. He is the future of the order. I couldn't ruin him. She spoke calmly. I understood. She wasn't holding back. She was protecting the ego of the man who hated me. What a powerful, heartbreaking fool. But what about you? Don't you feel pain? She looked at me and suddenly smiled. A real smile. It lit up the room. Are you worrying about me? Her eyes shone like stars. My heart skipped. I looked away. I just can't explain your death to my boss. Calm down, Julian. You're an actor. Her smile deepened. She grabbed my wrist. Julian, thank you. Down there, you were terrified for me, weren't you? I wasn't. You were. You tried to use your charm magic to help me. I felt it. My brain stalled again. She felt that. What kind of monster is she? She pulled my hand. So, as a reward, I lost my balance and fell forward, landing right on top of her. Softness, cool skin, and that scent filling my nose. My face was an inch from hers. I could count her eyelashes. Reward? This is torture. My heart hammered against my ribs. Time froze. I lay there, terrified to move. Calm down. I am Julian Rivers, master of seduction. Beauty cannot shake my resolve, though my resolve was crumbling. Seraphina just watched me, her breath tickling my face. Your heart is beating fast, she teased. I tried to scramble up. You scare me. She didn't let go. Really? I thought you were falling for me. Snap. My rationality broke. Screw the mission. I wanted to kiss her. Just as my lips descended, a spectral origami crane flew in through the window, chirping loudly. Priority message. Me? Are you kidding me? The mood shattered. I scrambled off her, straightening my clothes. She looked briefly annoyed but grabbed the crane. Her frown deepened. What is it? I asked. The void rift. The seal on the abyssal gate is loosening. The abyssal gate. An ancient battlefield suppressing elder demons. If the seal breaks, game over. The order is sending me to reinforce it. Her voice was heavy. Then you're coming with me. Huh? To do what? Be a cheerleader? No. She looked at me seriously. You're my bondmate. It is only right. I understood. She didn't want to leave me alone here, especially going into danger. Looking at her wound, I felt a surge of recklessness. Okay, I'll go. She seemed surprised, then warm. Pack up. We leave now. Wait. I handed her a small jade bottle. What is this? My guild's jade bone balm. Way better than your order's cheap stuff. Use it. It was my life-saving stash. She held the bottle, looked at me deeply, and said, okay. The flight to the Void Rift was tense. We rode her flying sword. I stood behind her, forced to hold her waist for balance. It was the closest we'd ever been physically. Her waist was impossibly slender. Hold tight. What? Before I could react, she accelerated to supersonic speed. I slammed in her back, wrapping my arms around her in a full bear hug. I felt her stiffen and heard her heart rate spike. She did that on purpose. I screamed internally but held on tighter. Her back was warm. I felt like I could hold her forever. The Void Rift was a desolate wasteland of black rock. The air was thick with corruption. The abyssal gate was a massive, bottomless pit spewing black smoke. Golden runes around it were flickering out. Seraphina, a disciple from the Floral Valley, greeted us. It's bad. The corruption is too strong. Something is coming out. A roar shook the earth. Roar. A shockwave of rot blasted from the pit. It's an elder demon dragon. The seal is breaking. Panic erupted. Seraphina moved. She released my hand and walked alone toward the pit. Seraphina. She looked back, eyes resolute. Wait here. She sat at the edge, placing frostbite on her knees, and closed her eyes. A massive, pure white aura exploded from her, pouring into the ruins. The golden light flared, pushing the darkness back. She was single-handedly holding the gate. But she was shaking, sweat pouring down her face. I watched, fists clenched. Useless. I was dead weight. The powerlessness made me angry. Suddenly, I saw movement. In the crowd, a nondescript rogue cultivator's eyes flashed red. He pulled a black dagger and turned into a shadow, darting towards Seraphina's exposed back. Look out! I didn't think. I sprinted, throwing my body between the shadow and her back. Sechenke. Ice-cold steel slid into my back. Agony. Absolute agony tore through my nerves. I looked down to see a bloody blade tip protruding from my chest. Am I dying? My vision blurred. I used my last ounce of strength to look at the assassin. It wasn't triumph on his face, but horror. A black tentacle from his own shadow was wrapping around him, dragging him into the darkness. Shadow. Demon. He screamed and vanished. The crowd froze. I went limp and fell forward. Julian. A scream ripped through the air. I fell into an embrace that was cold, but trembling violently. I forced my eyes open to see Seraphina's face, twisted in terror. She wasn't the Ice Queen anymore. She was crying. Hot tears at my face. Don't cry. I tried to reach up, but couldn't. You won't die. I won't let you. She was babbling, stuffing pills into my mouth, pouring energy into me. But the dagger was poisoned. My life was fading. Damn. Julian Rivers, hero. Dying for love. Not a bad exit. My consciousness sank. Before the darkness took me completely, I saw the seal shatter. Monsters poured out. I saw Seraphina stand up, holding me. Her face was void of tears, replaced by an apocalyptic coldness. Those who hurt him, The next second, a pillar of white light shot into the sky. But within that light was a familiar energy. My guild charm magic. Wait, the final form of the scripture of absolute detachment is... I woke up from a long dream. In the dream, Madame V laughed at me. Then Seraphina made me do squats. Then I lay dying in her arms. I snapped my eyes open. The bamboo ceiling. I wasn't dead. I touched my chest. Smooth skin. Noise got. What happened? You're awake. A cool voice. Seraphina sat by the bed, clean clothes, looking pale but bright-eyed. How long? 3 days. The rift. Safe. I clear the monsters. You, me, I remember the light. Your scripture. Mastered, she said calmly. The final form, the sentient sword, requires emotion to drive the blade. I needed a bondmate to help me take that step. I froze. So, I was a tool after all. A catalyst. A wave of bitterness hit me. So, you mastered it. Do you still need a bondmate? I laughed self-deprecatingly. Seraphina was silent. Then she spoke. Yes. My heart sank, then stopped. What? She reached out, touching my face gently. Because I found that I fear losing you more than I desire power. When you took that blade from me, the detachment broke. She looked at me intensely. Julian, my path is complete because of you. But what about the guild? I asked weakly. Madame V gave me a deadline. A copy of the scripture of absolute detachment has already been delivered to the Guild of Enthrallment, Seraphina said nonchalantly. Consider it. A dowry. I nearly choked. A dowry. That move was wild. She was using the very secret technique my sect wanted as a bride price to keep me. I could almost see the seductive Madame V holding the sword manual, gritting her teeth and calling me a traitorous brat while unable to stop grinning. You aren't acting? I asked, looking back at Seraphina. At first, yes. You were handsome and had ulterior motives. Perfect tool. Me? But I didn't calculate that you would die for me, or that I would be so terrified. The highest form isn't heartlessness. It's using the deepest emotion to swing the strongest sword. She paused, nervous. So, Julian, will you continue to be my bondmate? For real. I looked at her, and my anger vanished. I cleared my throat, putting on a stern face. Well, depends on your performance. I pointed to the water barrel. Go fill the cistern. Seraphina blinked, then laughed. She leaned down and kissed my forehead. Okay, partner. Sunlight hit her smiling face. I watched the number 1 swordswoman pick up a bucket and walk out the door. Julian Rivers, actually tamed the high mountain flower. Story complete.